A coalition of 10 rights groups on Friday condemned a decree by Tunisian President Saied sacking scores of judges, describing it as a deep blow to judicial independence. The June the 1st presidential decree saw Saied award himself the power to fire judges. He sacked 57 judges for the cementing a power grab that began last July when he dismissed the government and suspended an elected parliament. Amnesty International and Lawyers Without Borders also put their names to the statement, which called for the president to revoke the decree immediately and reappoint the judges. Joining us tonight from Tunisia to unpack this latest development is Aymen Amayed, is a researcher at cultural and food policy and political activist in Tunisia. A very good evening to you, Aymen. Thanks for joining us on NC Continental Prime.
Thank you for receiving me.
Now, Aymen, how significant and what importance will this condemnation from the 10 rights groups have in President Kaisas' continued moves to turn Tunisia into an autocratic state?
Basically, I think one of the first questions to answer the situation is that in Tunisia, and especially after the revolution of 2011, we have to ask if really Tunisia went out from an autocratic state or autocratic rule, as if for the last 10 years there were a lot of protests, a lot of malcontentment from the people, and especially from the poor in Tunisia against all the politicians. But I think it could be very significant that those 10 right groups said that this path isn't the best path to take, especially with Kaisas grabbing all sorts of powers, which was done in the same time for the 10 past years by some, just to say, like the Islamist party, who took the power and let themselves also corrupt the judges, which were in this situation frozen by the Tunisian President Saied. So basically, there is a lot of questions to ask to try to understand the situation in Tunisia, and especially if we are really going to another autocratic rule by President Saied.
Now, Aymen, the recent sacking of the 57 judges is the latest in President Kaisas' power grab in Tunisia. I mean, before his ascendancy into the presidency, he was a constitutional lawyer. How has he been able to grab so much power for himself without any effective check or opposition? Because it's one thing after the other.
I think the answer is quite simple and quite obvious, especially in Tunisia, and especially outside the capital, Tunis, because there is, as surprising as we can say, there is a lot of popular support, especially coming from the region and from the peripheries in Tunisia to President Kaisas, the same support that made him president. So probably Kaisas, as a law professor, isn't supposed to take that much
exactly.
power. Sorry?
Yeah, so I'm following you, Aymen.
So normally he wasn't supposed to take that much power in his hand, especially that he is alone and without any structure or political support from the parties, but still a lot of people in the streets demonstrating or pushing to Kaisas' autocratic rule, if we can say it.
Now, Aymen, finally, before I let you go, reports consistently show that it still has some level of support amongst the population in Tunisia. The same population that chased out former dictator Abidine Ben Ali. So Tunisians don't want a dictator. They elect a president that is acting as a dictator. How is this possible? And why does he still enjoy widespread support amongst the Tunisian people?
I think there is a lot of analysis about that specific question, especially if we say that those same people who pushed out
Ben
and
Ali.
throw out dictator from Tunisia, Zine Abidine Ben Ali, elected a president, and in the same time are pushing or supporting him in his autocratic rule. I think the question is that the Tunisian and especially the popular people in Tunisia that lived those 10 years with a lot of hope of democracy, of real representation, of real support from the political party, but they were basically completely disappointed from what the political parties were doing, especially that weren't really political parties who were close to the people and close to the people's demand. So I think now the population thinks and believes that the last hope is to push one person that they think is a honest person and not to help them or to push them to fulfill the real demands of the revolution. So we are basically into two choices. If electing a parliament which didn't fulfill any of the demands of the people, or asking or pushing just only one person, which is the president, Saied now, who was elected by those people to at least help them to fulfill the basics of the demands of the revolution.
Thank you very much, Aymen Amayed, for your time. We definitely keep our tabs on developments in Tunisia. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure also.